Right people, how to draw a tattoo design from beginning to end. Today we're going to be doing like a near traditional kind of couple, so one of my sort of trademark styles. Going to do this on the iPad Pro, and it's going to be in Procreate. Going to start off with a new layer, sketching technical pencil. Now to start with, I want to get the basic positioning right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this up across here. I'm going to create one box. Two boxes. I'm going to divide these both into four. I want this one to kind of sit a bit differently to this one. I don't want them to be exactly parallel. You know, because I want one to be slightly above the other one. So this is going to be female, it's going to be the male. Once you've got a box, just place roughly in there. Don't worry about the detail for now. Just going to turn that transparency down just so we've got like a rough kind of guide for it. Going to create another layer now. And this we're going to sort of start sketching in, like, you know, the actual shapes. So what I'm going to do is just divide the line halfway through these boxes and just a little bit through these ones up here. So not halfway, maybe about a quarter of the way. So the idea is you're going to have eyes, mouth, your nose is going to sit somewhere around here, and your eyebrow is going to be there. So I always start with the face bit first. So I'm going to start where this line is here. Let's get about the forehead bit. So this bit's going to kind of curve back as if you're going towards the top of that box shape. Just like that. I'm going to curve in a little bit, just create a little bit towards where the nose starts. I'm going to curve this. It's going to go outside that box. So if imagine if this is the line for the box, you're going to go just outside it. Go back towards it, and as you kind of loop around just here, just for that part of the lip, you're going to touch the box. I'm going to bring this line curving down like this, and it's going to go back inside the box. And a little loop here, just on this line, remember, because it's the mouth line. Just a little circle just there to kind of create the bottom part of the lip. I'm going to create a little curve just off the bottom. Curve this around. And flip this back, about to that halfway line. Going to decrease that chin a little bit, because you've got a little bit of a muscular chin there. A little bit too much chin. It's always a good thing about sort of sketching stage, you can create a little bit just like that. I think it's the major advantage of digital as well, and actually you can make a lot of these little changes and you ain't got to worry about them. Okay, I'm just going to make that a little bit shorter. If you sketch your box out dead accurate, that'll pretty much be on that bottom line. I'm just roughly sketching in mine. I feel like a rough guideline rather than an exact guideline. From inside this nose bit here, I'm going to curve in inside the box and just curve around. So you go a little dip downwards, curve around. See that shape? Now we've got this line just here, that halfway line. If you bring a line up from where the nostril bit is here, just mimicking the sort of, you know, the angle of this nose. This is where we want the edge of the eye to be. So the edge of the eye is going to fit in that gap. And what I'm going to do, just bring the line coming off this way. I'm going to go this way and I'm going to curve it as if I was kind of curving up to this kind of point here. And just bring that back up a touch just here. Taking that line down a touch just there. That's going to create that upper eyelid for me. Curve this back downwards towards it. Come down a little bit where the pupil is. I'm going to create another line just here, but a bit more kind of angular, so this one's going to be a bit further sort of downwards. I'm going to flick a few lines off the edge just for the eyelashes, and a little line come down here where the cheekbone kind of would be. I'm going to put some shade on this. I like to have this bit quite dark, especially when I'm doing a sketchy style. Often when I go to colour it, I line it up, but when I'm sketching these bits, I'd love to make these bits dark. So going dark here, just above that eyelid bit we've done here. A little bit inside this eyelid and just beneath the eye. Just like that, and that's going to create a really nice kind of eye bit for the inside. Now the eyebrow is going to start just a little bit in front. And it's going to curve back, pretty much going the length of the eye to where we kind of flick it off. Now you can go shorter depending on what kind of style of eyebrow you want, but I usually quite like a nice long eyebrow. slightly adjust that forehead now that I've got the eye in there, so I can see. You know, sketching's all about making adjustments. You know, don't sort of feel like you kind of get stuck with it. You know, you've got to remember it's not pen work, it's sketch work. Mark a few little sort of circular details. I'm going to put a little circle just around the lip, a little circle just here on the chin. I'm going to bring this line back here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to curve this around. I'm going to create this dip here, and it's going to curve back to the eye. So we're basically creating where this jawline is. And this is kind of pointing towards the mouth. So if you kind of go here, it kind of points towards that mouth section. So that's pretty much her sort of face in there. I'm going to curve from this nose, coming down from the mouth. And that gives me roughly where I want that neck bit to start. So I can kind of go there. The ear, I'm going to have her ear fit in this kind of location. So it's going to cut a little bit up past that halfway line, falling down just there. I'm not going to worry about detail too much because I think I might have that covered, because I'm going to make her kind of rockabilly style. So I'm going to give her the old rockabilly bandana and roll rockabilly kind of hair. So I'm just going to sketch up here on this nice kind of pivot. So I'm making this kind of big oval kind of shape, just spiraling around. Just having fun, just making some big puffy hair here. So once we've got that bit here, I'm just going to create this little circle just here. This is going to be the knot for the top of the bandana. I'm just going to create a couple of sort of like triangular sort of shapes, just coming off just where the bow is on the bandana. I like to make bows quite big. And this is going to come down. It's going to go quite wide and come back. Now the inside part here, just above the ear, I'm going to create this curve because I want a bit of hair on the inside part here. I'm going to create a few little lines just kind of showing that direction. Back of this head, I'm going to create these kind of circle, semicircle kind of shapes, just kind of building up a bit of volume behind that bandana. A few little lines just coming inside the bandana just for a little bit of shape detail, which we will find as we go along. We're just basically plotting on everything, so everything's kind of roughly where we want it to be. A little bit of hair just underneath here, just like that. See, a bit of that ear is going to kind of get chopped off there because it's not sitting underneath. A little random hair strand just on the side part of the ear, just here. Now the inside ear detail, I'm going to create a curve in, a little dip out, dip down and back around. So down, dip in, dip out, dip down, dip around. I mean, you can pretty much do ears however you really want. You know, there's no real right or wrong way about it. You know, it's just kind of what you sort of want to do with it. You know, you can actually use your ears to identify as well, like fingerprints and dentures, your teeth, because everyone's ear is actually completely different. It's they're all completely unique. It's a form of identification that never seems to get used for some reason. Just random facts for you guys. Anyway, I'm liking this face. So now we've got that face done, I'm going to sort of sketch in the man's one a bit. I might rotate her slightly, I think now, so she's kind of facing it a little bit more because I want her facing the right bit. The box wasn't quite the right direction for me. Just want to make eye contact. So the man's going to be very, very similar. So you've got this halfway line here. I'm going to create this halfway line through that halfway line. And again, just about a quarter of the way through there. Just create that top bit a little bit, make it a bit more neater. It was a very sketchy box. So same sort of thing now, I'm going to bring this down. When you get to about here, I'm going to curve this in a touch. I'm going to bring this out. And make his nose a little bit more angular. Similar kind of nostril coming inside the box. Nose a little bit here, we'll kind of curve out, so it's kind of going just a bit outside the box. Gonna make his mouth a bit more straight. Quite a strong chin. I'll probably put some facial hair on him, so not to worry too much about certain bits, because quite a bit of it probably will get hid by the facial hair when we put that on him. Same thing with the eye, so if you bring a line up, kind of where that nostril kind of curve around, you know roughly around here is going to be where you want the eye to be, so going to bring this line in, like so. Bit of a line above. These ones going to be a little bit shorter, I'm not going to make it quite as wide. Probably give him some pupils in a sec as well, but just marking everything roughly where I want it to be. His eyebrows going to be a bit more kind of jagged and a bit bushier. Is buffier even a word? Buffier. Sounds like one. Not that I've ever used it though. I might have to check a dictionary for that one. Right, so we've got a man's kind of face kind of starting to build up in here. Now you know me, I like to put a moustache on these kind of ones, so I'm going to add a moustache on him. So a curve out, bit of a flick, bring this back. So I'm going to make it in this kind of shape. So like that. Should I add a beard? Should I, shouldn't I? Should I, shouldn't I? Yeah, go for it. So I'm going to give him a beard. So I'm going to curve a little circle line just around the bottom part of his mouth. That's going to give me a hint of where I kind of want his beard to kind of go that way. I'm going to curve it off here. Come down a bit wider than what the chin was and the jaw. And when I get to the bottom, I'm going to create these lines, slowly kind of rotating as we go further back. Just like that. Just going to get those lines kind of straight down. That's going to kind of make that big kind of space. Nice big strong beard. I'm going to mark in these kind of head shapes, so it's going to kind of curve around. Down over there. It is going to fall in a very similar kind of location to hers. And the inside detail are going to go around, out, in, down, and around. Now his hair's going to be a bit different. I'm going to give him a bit of a fade, I think, like I normally do. What kind of fade I'm going to give him though. So basically make this hairline around here, so I'm going to curve around, following that kind of eye shape around. When you get to about here, cut a little kind of line upwards. Bit of a line back there. Bit of a line there, because that's the hairline, so it's trying to work out what I'm going to do for his hair. Gonna get a brush slip back, I think. Just gonna create these kind of curves, just kind of coming off. Gonna get one big one, kind of coming back like this. Some other ones a little bit more uneven. And I've done it perfectly slick. I want a bit of shape to it. So I'm just kind of putting these kind of lines that all kind of like follow in the same direction. Then I kind of neaten them up afterwards. You're basically just putting a whole bunch of lines in it, and at the end of it, kind of decide which ones you like and which ones you don't, and you can kind of pick them out. The lines around the back bit just there. And I've got his face in here. I'm just going to select some kind of positioning where I want now. And nice and close, I think. And kind of looking at each other, so yeah, I like that positioning. Don't need those boxes now, so I'm going to turn off that bottom layer. And I will sort of turn this down and refine it. But now we've got the heads in there, we've got to try to work out what we want for the rest of it now. So these two a bit like this. I think I'm going to have a hand in there, so maybe he's got his hand on her face. Just going to create a new layer for this, just in case I kind of mess it up. So I'm going to create this box shape. You can see I've got this one side here that's kind of longer. I'm going to curve this up, maybe it's got his thumb on her cheek. Quite like that. I'm going to create this one box for this one finger. I'm going to create this box for these 3 fingers. Now you're probably thinking, what's going on here? Now this is a very handy way, if you're sort of like struggling, don't know what to do, you know, your hands, you know, a good little trick, and that's just leave one finger out. You basically leave one finger out, you make this triangular kind of box shape, 2 lines in there, and you generally get like a nice kind of position for a hand. And you can kind of sort of like, you know, mess around with the details afterwards. It's a nice way of doing it. So he's going to have his hand there. Going to have this sunburst in the background, I think. Through there. Quite liking that. I'm going to have like a rose here. So I'm going to mark in a circle. Nice big rose, I think. So I'm going to bring in just one sort of triangular shape like this. Another triangular shape here. I'm going to create my kind of egg shape in the middle. Going to fill a few lines, I'm just going to divide it up. So I'm going to cut through the egg shape a couple of times. Doesn't particularly matter where, just play around, but you'll find some cool ways of doing it. But yeah, just basically just cut into your egg shape a couple of times, and you get like a nice bud. Create some little loops just running outside, some close ones, just like so. And then once you've got those ones, you can sort of start thinking about the big bold outer petals. So I'm going to create this one down here, like this, one big bold one for the bottom. Second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. And then you've got to decide whether you want it straight or if you want a bit of an angle. So at the minute I've kind of got a bit straight. I don't want a bit of an angle. I think I'm going for a bit of an angle. I like how that looks, kind of like that. Once you've got that done, you can have some leaves on the outside. So I'm going to create a line, 2 loops either side. So we're going to go through details later. I'm going to add a few around here, a few around here. Just kind of like so. Gonna add maybe a collar around him, I think. So you've got this line down here, gonna bring this line across, pretty much like a laser. Gonna bring in his shirt bit just here. Tie maybe on it. I'm going to create these leaves kind of coming off, kind of branching around the design, just kind of setting it in place a bit. Like that. Just going to slightly adjust this rose, I think, maybe just a fraction to the side. Excuse me. Ugh, that was a weird sneeze. So now we've got our basic kind of sketch in here. Just going to put this all together, so just merge this all down. Bring this out a touch. And now we've got that, I'm going to sort of turn down, I'm going to refine it, bring all the detail in. So I'm going to turn down this layer now, quite a lot. Get this up here. So just create everything now, just make it nice and neat, you know. Start off with your kind of outline sort of stuff, and then we're going to come back and do the shading. So So I'm just using a technical pencil here on full size, full opacity. Just give me a nice big bold outline. Now we'll do a few little bits a bit smaller maybe, but it's going to be a dominant sort of size for most of it. I think I really quite like this sort of size. Now a lot of time I'll go smaller if it's a front view. Like say if you see the nose at a front view, I'll use like a thinner liner for that. But when it's like a sideline sort of view, like well, side profile view like this, I like to make it nice and bold. I think it just stands out really nice. A little bit of an earring in that ear, just for a change. Just bring in these hairlines. Get these ones in here. I'm gonna use my bold lines to kind of sort of separate this into little sections. So each one's gonna kind of loop around the other one. And then kind of spiral when we get to this bit. Like that. Gonna get this little knot in here now, so create a little kind of line so it looks like it's kind of knotted over. Look at little lines on the inside bit. Maybe 2 lines. Bring it in. Like I like to make it sort of quite triangular. So it sort of comes to a bit of a point to the outside. A couple lines on the inside. You can't really go wrong doing it that way. And it looks really nice. Get the outside of this bandana here done. Get around here, going to curve this around. Get this thumb in here first. Get this finger here. Secondary finger. Can add a slight little bendage here. I'm going to create this little loop just here so you kind of get a sense of where the finger's bending. A little bit shorter. Even shorter for the little finger. Maybe make this one just a fraction shorter. Yeah, I like the sort of size for that one. Go to his face now. I'll make his nose a bit angular. So he's got a bit of a dip in his bridge now. Same with the head, gonna make a little dip just there, just for a bit of random more detail. You know, once you kind of got the base work in there, you can kind of see little refinement details like that. It makes it much easier to add those once you have the base foundation in there. You know, it's really kind of hard to do that if you don't have the base foundation in. So that's why we do all this kind of sketch work first, and then I sort of turn down the opacity, because each time you're giving yourself like a better guideline each time to kind of work on top. Then obviously the better guideline you have, the better your piece is going to be. So create as many guidelines as you need. If you need that sort of 4 or 5 times, do it 4 or 5 times. You know, a lot of tattooists and people I know do. Especially in the old days when we used to draw on like tracing paper. We get a light box, we draw like a really sketch on tracing paper, and then you would put it on the light box, put another bit of tracing paper over the top, draw over that, and then another piece over that, another piece over that. I mean, some designs I've done like 10 layers worth of stuff. You know, it's a very handy trick to do, and it really does help. So you can see here, these parts of the beard, I'm just kind of like curving these in here. So each one's kind of curving off the other one, so it's getting a bit more shape rather than just being like a smooth edge at the bottom of the beard. Just makes it a bit more fun. Yeah, remember, curve round, dip in, dip out, dip down, dip around. Now let's make that a bit neater. That back line's a bit dodged there. There we go. Sketch that back bit in there. Now curve this around, dip down. Gonna get this first one in here because this is like the main one I really want. I really like that kind of angle. And I said, remember, just kind of pick out the ones you like and kind of look at it now. And if there's a line you kind of look at and you think, oh yeah, I like that line, just pick those ones out. Now, as long as you've got enough to kind of build in the shape, it will look right. You know, the main thing is you just want to make sure you kind of got the right flow and direction. You know, whatever kind of way you're doing the hair, just make sure it feels like it's flowing in the right direction for it. And what we'll do, we'll do like a fade when we kind of get to here, coming downwards. I'll do that in a sec, I'm not doing that right this second. Just get the back of her head on here now. And like I said, there's those big kind of sort of semicircular shapes, kind of building on top of each other. Just create a bit of volume at the back of the hair, really. The road is pretty much self-explanatory for the outline. We just kind of got over the outline bits we liked and just correcting little bits we thought like could do with correcting. And now's a good time to kind of stylize it. Like here, we've done this sort of triangle, so I'm going to create this one here. And to make a change, I'm going to dip it in and create this nice kind of pointy tip. So you see, it makes this shape much more interesting than say this one. Now this line here was originally sort of just like dead straight, so I'm going to bring this up. Go to a point, dip out, maybe create like a little kind of loop here. Again, makes it much more interesting shape. Now you kind of think about the shapes. Now shapes are very important. And sometimes all it takes is a little twist in the line to make it look better. You know, sometimes it looks better on its own, but it's always worth experimenting to kind of find those right kind of shapes, especially with roses, because, I mean, if you're a tattooist or you're going to be a tattooist or you just like drawing, you know, roses a very versatile flower, and you'll find you use them in a lot of designs. You know, I mean, I've lost count of the amount of roses I've done. I've probably done thousands in my career, and that's literally no exaggeration. You know, I think it's probably the case of like most tattooists, you know, because like I said, you know, it's probably the most used one we do, because they just, I don't know, it just translates so damn well on a tattoo. Keep plotting these in so you feel I've got them about right. I'm liking the look of that. And flick this line in here, curve this out a touch, make it a bit bumpy edge, and curve it down. Curve that. So you see, I'm just making a bit more of a fun shape to it, so it's not perfectly smooth round. Create a few little flicky bits on the outside. Same again here, so I'm going to bring a line, just make it a bit fun, so break it out a touch, break it down, maybe another little bump. You know, get creative with the leaves, you know. There's no wrong way to redo them, you know, and this, I know pretty much every artist kind of has their own kind of way of doing them, which I really like. You know, it's almost a little signature, and a lot of time I can tell whose rose it is just by how they've done that, their little sort of leaves on the outside, or the way they've done the petals or something. It's a very fun way of just kind of adding like a little personal, almost like signature to a design without it being blatantly obvious, because I think it can be a bit arrogant. Some people who kind of put in like signatures and stuff in tattoos. I mean, if a person kind of requests it, then fair enough. But yeah, I've heard stories some people putting it in there, and it's not cool. You know, it's, unless someone asks for it, it shouldn't be done. You shouldn't be putting signature in the tattoo. Stuff like that's fine, I mean, you know, but an actual like kind of writing your name kind of signature, you know, kind of branding someone. Not a fan of that. Just personal preference though, don't kill me for it. Everyone's got their own things they like and dislike. Putting in that blazer, getting in this colour. throwing in that tie. The sun I will put in separately so I get a nice perfect round. So draw a circle, hold it, tap another finger, perfect circle, boom. Just erase all the bits on the inside that you don't want. So these bits are gone. Now we got those. Don't need that outline no more, so I can turn that off. This is the only little stand there I need. Nope, I think I've got it all. I mean, you can have your guidelines back in there if you want, but I don't really need those, so I'm going to turn those off. I'm going to go back to my sketching tool now. I'm going to turn my opacity down to about 30. I'm going to start sketching and the shading now. So like we've done before here. A bit of shadow inside the upper eyelid. A bit just underneath the upper eyelid. Going towards your eyebrow. I like it to kind of connect with the eyebrow. It turns it into a bit of a unit. And the idea of shading, you want to keep it nice and tight. So like this, you basically want to keep overlapping your lines. You know, try to avoid doing this because it's just not neat and it won't look nice. I mean, unless you're going for a sketchy style, you know, it's just kind of pointless. Keep it nice and tight. So a little shadow just here underneath this nose. And underneath the nose bit, just here, okay, this little line just coming down from it, creates like a little shadow. Shading that lip. Just here on this outside part of the lip, we're going to put a little bit of shadow just on the outside of it, just there. Just kind of give a sense of the curvature. Just here underneath the bottom lip. And just here going across this bottom part of the jaw. Just there. Okay, little line just coming off this nose. Nothing crazy, just a little line detail just there. Bit here coming up from the side of the eye. And remember we saw that the cheekbone shaping, so we had that line that kind of come across this way to the eye. Then you had this line here. We're going to sketch roughly inside that sort of shape. I'm just going to go over a little bit on the cheekbone, so the cheekbone bit's a bit more defined than the rest of it. Make sure it's nice and smooth, otherwise it's going to look like she's got like a beard or something. Which you don't want. Just going to flick in my little trademark. I might throw in a few more tattoos at the end as well, but you see the X on the cheek, you know it's probably my design. You know, very much like the flowers, you know, I said with the leaves and the petals, it's a subtle way of just marking it as yours without it being like an obvious signature. So I said I don't like those. So don't go copying that, make your own one up. I don't know, put a cross there or another 3 or something. There's loads of things you guys can do, you ain't got to do my cross. So for the hair here, you can see I'm just flicking up and down in this general shape, and I'm leaving little kind of white highlights in between certain bits, just of some of the lines, just kind of give a bit of depth to it. So you kind of flick it in. From the top, kind of coming down. You know, I prefer to follow the direction with the hair rather than sort of just shading across. But again, that's just personal preference. You know, I mean, sometimes it can work like it. If I do this, I'll go halfway, create a little highlight. So I'm going to go here, going to fade out, pick up the other side, go across. You know, you don't necessarily have to do it that way. Sometimes it looks good like that. You know, it's not that it doesn't look good other ways. It's just the way I just prefer to do it. A little bit of shadow here, just underneath the bow. Where this will come down, I'm going to put this little line here. Come this way, so you're creating a shadow of that bow on the bandana. You know, little shadows are just really handy, and they really kind of like make the shapes much more convincing. Got the eyebrow black. I might the pupil now, I don't know yet. A lot of time I just leave it blank, but yeah, I think I like the pupils in them. Make it a little less scary. I like them scary. So add some more shades, just keep building up these shades. When it gets like the band of it, see I'm going to be a bit more kind of to the point, which I kind of feel like shows the shapes a bit better. So see here, I want to make this kind of feel like this kind of like bends at this angle. So I'm going to create this kind of harsh edge, and that will kind of give the sense that this is bending. So you've got like a bend just here. Top of that bandana. I'm going to do the back of the hair now. Same way we just done the front parts. So I'm going to keep going across, following the hair shape. Leaving little highlights in between and sometimes in the middle. Like I said, just keep it nice and tight as well. You know, the tighter you keep it, the smoother your shading will be. You know, this is just a technical pencil. This is exactly what you guys have on yours. It's not modified. So you guys can use the exact same tool. You know, if it doesn't come out the same as mine, it's not because it's different, it's simply because it's a matter of practice. You know, once you've done it a few times, you'll start to get the hang of this, and it becomes second nature, okay? I promise you. You know, if it doesn't work first time, don't panic, you will get there. You know, I've done this a million times over, so I can do it at this kind of speed and like this. It's not an issue for me. You know, you will get there, just takes a bit of patience. Whenever you guys do these drawings as well, always make sure you tag me in them, okay? I love seeing what you guys do. You know, Instagram, Facebook, you know, whatever. I love seeing you guys work. You know, I think there's nothing more rewarding than doing money tutorials and actually seeing that you guys are actually doing them. So never sort of like feel like it's not good enough, you know, anything like that. You know, always send them over to me. I love to see you guys work. You know, and 9 times out of 10, I'll usually get back to you guys as well. You know, I'm very good like that. Just don't get weird about it. I'm not a celebrity, nothing like that. You know, if I sort of reply to it, don't go crazy. I don't know, I always get a bit weird at that sometimes. You know, if people kind of react that kind of way. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not exactly like that often. I'm not saying I'm like taught that way. There's nothing like that, but yeah, I don't know. When people kind of get a bit kind of sort of like starstruck, I kind of feel a bit weird because it's just, I don't know. I'm just a tattooist at the end of the day. It's a bit of shadow just in the bandana, just like that, just kind of sets it off. Come down to the fingers now. I'm going to put on a little bit of shade, just come up here to those knuckle parts, just there. This is very good, especially in neo tracks. It really gives a sense of how the fingers kind of bend. And just a little bit of shadow going towards the end. You know, you can have fingernails if you want. It's not always necessary in old, or in neo traditional and old school. You know, personally, I quite like how they look sometimes without the fingernails, but if you want to add them on there, don't, you know, feel free to. You know, it's not like you can't add them. Gonna put a little bit of shadow just across here, across the kind of like knuckle area. Bring that in just there. Again, it just gives a sense of where the finger kind of bends. And I like that. Just going to put a bit of shadow just in this area underneath, rather than being a blank space. Get onto his face now. So similar to the girls one, I'm going to go underneath the eyelids. Shade up towards your eyebrow. Shade in that eyebrow. going to go quite heavy underneath the eye bit here. You know, just because it's a man, remember there will be shadow underneath, you know, around the eye as well. You know, don't be sort of paranoid or worried about it looking like, you know, he's got makeup, something like that, you know, because he needs those kind of shadows in there. You know, I think it's a very common mistake I see, people kind of under shading on the male face. You know, especially with neo-traditional, because you know, neo-traditional, you get to exaggerate like that, you know, it's... You know, in a realistic piece, it might not necessarily be that way, but with neo-trads, you know, it can be anything it wants to be. Anything it needs to be. Gonna flick up and down into this beard. So just keep kind of flicking down. I'm gonna leave this little highlight just in the middle kind of section. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm kind of flicking it up, and then I want that bottom bit a bit darker, so I'm just faintly going over the bottom bit to kind of sort of get the shade. So if I do it in slow motion, you'll see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to go like this, so I put in the base bit, and then I go like this to about this kind of height, and then my second one I go a touch bit lower, and then a touch bit lower, and then a touch bit lower. So basically this bit gets overlapped quite a lot, so it goes darker. But yeah, when you sort of follow like a kind of systematic way of doing that, you get like a nice kind of shade. And like I said, if you're kind of like just trying to build up like this, you know, it's not going to be nice and even. You know, just calm, relax, you know, just get like a nice kind of flow to it. You know, it's all about the flow. I feel like I'm Bob Ross, talking about my happy little beards. Nice slow motion. Don't think I was surprised. I did like watch Bob Ross almost every morning when I was a kid. For those of you who are too young to know who Bob Ross is, you know, he's a painter with a massive afro. Brilliant guy. And yeah, every morning he'd do like a quick painting show and that, and you can kind of paint along with him. You guys, if you don't know who he is, you don't know what you're missing. He was brilliant. If you guys all miss Bob Ross, you know, put in the comments, let me know how much you miss him. If you have no idea who he is, you know, comment below as well. You know, I'd like to know how many people actually know who Bob Ross is. Or do actually, it might be depressing. If everyone says no, then I'm going to be like, feel like I'm really old or something. You guys must know who Bob Ross is, surely. So I'm going to go in very faint here, just put a very faint layer up to the head. And then I'm going to come back in, cross hatch it a little bit and start to make that fade off of the hair. So currently he's kind of at a sort of 0 buzz cut. And then we're kind of adding in number 1. And coming back into like 2, 3. Going into 5 and then going straight into scissor cut. That terminology is pretty off because I'm not a barber. So just keep gently kind of building it up. Just keep overlapping until you kind of get it to about the smoothness you kind of want it to. And I want it to get fairly dark underneath the hair so it kind of sort of joins and matches up into it. Like I said, it's just all about getting that nice kind of motion, that nice sort of tight shading. And once you've got that, same thing with the beard and the lower part of the hair, we're going to start flicking it in. Just like so. Just do each section a bit kind of individually, so each one's kind of got its own kind of highlight. And then you kind of get a really nice kind of sort of layering sort of section in here. God, I'm getting really hungry. Sorry, I know you guys don't need to know that yet. Nearing lunchtime, I'm sort of drawing this, and all I can think of is a bloody peanut butter sandwich. But that's what ends up happening. I sort of draw, when I sort of draw, go to my happy place. When I go to my happy place, I kind of get hungry. And I do love me a peanut butter sandwich. So the shading's building up really nicely in here now. Just gonna bring up this fade into this blazer. Down the other way. And the whole concept of this sort of like tight shading as well, this also translates in tattooing. You know, if you want to get like really good sort of bold shading, you know, and really bold colours, generally the tighter you are with it, you know, the better, you know, the bolder and nicer and cleaner it would be. You know, if you're kind of sort of sketching all over the place and kind of coming back to certain areas, you know, it's never going to be overly smooth. You know, being tight is important. Let's get some little shadows underneath there. A little bit of shadow just here. It's going to give a hint of his blazer on the other side. A bit of shadow just underneath the sunburst in the background, or the moon. Depends when about to kissing. So it's daytime or nighttime. Could be either, so just use your imagination for it. Alright, I'm going to do a rose, and then I'm going to add some tattoos on them. So make sure you hang around with the tattoos to kind of finish it off. So I'm going to put some shadows just around here, around the kind of egg shape of the bulb in the middle. So off the sides. And basically every time you kind of got one of these kind of sort of petally kind of bits here that turn over, I'm going to get little shadows underneath them. A bit of shadows kind of coming across these bits. We kind of curve around, so shadow from either side. A bit of shadow on the inside part there. And when you got these ones here, you got this big sort of one here that's going to give you shadow on here. Now, it's kind of hard to explain this. You kind of need to understand sort of shadows to get a sense of direction. But the shadow won't always be the exact shape kind of underneath. You know, a lot of time like here, it will kind of bend because the petal bends. So it's just kind of get a sense of how it does that, really. You know, it takes a bit of practice, but once you kind of get a sense of it, you know, looking at references is always a good way to get that. Like if you look at actual roses and kind of sort of look how the shadows are on them. I mean, don't get me wrong, there will be some shadows on roses when you look at anything, and how the hell does it make that sort of shadow? Because sometimes you do get really random shadows and lights in areas you just would not expect with them. And sometimes you get overlapping shadows because obviously the petals aren't completely opaque. So sometimes when you get a leaf, like a petal over a petal, you'll get a darker underneath because the overlapping makes them darker. If that makes sense. I'm going to put a bit of shadow to the bottom of these leaves just here. And I will come back and do a little kind of few little line details at the top of them. I'm mainly doing this here because I want to do it up on these ones. And I like to carry through that kind of sort of symmetry of it. like this, like that. When doing this as well, sort of just practice, because some people find it easier to sort of shade dark to light like this, and some people find it easier to go light to dark that way around. Whichever way you kind of feel comfortable, you know, maybe just sort of trying to stick with for a bit to kind of get used to it. You know, and once you kind of got real comfortable, you can sort of start doing the other way to sort of learn the other sort of way of doing it. But yeah, there's no harm in sticking to what feels comfortable to begin with. So I'm flicking a few little line details. Nothing crazy. Don't like those ones. Just flick him in and then go into the tattoos. So I might put a tattoo on his hand, maybe a tattoo on his neck. You know me, I love putting tattoos on my tattoos. I don't know why, I just think it's like tattoo inception. It just looks really cool. So yeah, the traditional one I normally do. Gonna give him a rose on his neck. Bit of a different rose, that's what I normally do, so bit of a different body shape. Little secondary line just inside the inside parts. Yeah, like that. Put one on his face, she's got the X on hers. Yeah, I'll do my classic sort of 13 maybe. And let's get a bit soppy. Love. We'll put that because we know on the other hand it would have been hate. You know, so. It's not too soppy because we know what's going to secretly be on the other hand. It's like a secret measure, secret tattoo on the other hand, I guess. Right. So got love on there. Don't like that. Yeah, I feel that. I think anymore it's going to be kind of a bit overkill. I don't want to go too kind of nuts with it. And there we have, people. That's how you draw a cool neo-traditional. I mean, it's got a bit of old school in there as well, but it's more neo-trad than anything else. Nice neo-traditional couple. Got the detail on it. I hope you guys like it. The Broken Puppet people, check my videos. Anything you guys want to see, make sure you comment below and let me know. And I'll see you next time. Peace.